Hello, business little folks. So today we'll be talking about how do you attach documents via API in Business Central. Now, there's something which I did not cover in this API series that I did, and sorry for the delay, but there is a part 2 of API series coming up. But I'm still trying to answer questions that are popping up on those series. So, some time ago, I was a little bit busy. I got this question on the API series, and let me zoom this in. And the question is, thank you for the informative video. I'm wondering if there is a way to create document attachment for sales and purchase orders through APIs. I have tried several ways, but I always hit a roadblock. Any insight would be much appreciated. So I'll try to give some insights in this video. So if you know about it, maybe I'll see you in the other video. If you don't, then let's stay tuned and we'll talk about it. Before we begin, as I do every time, a humble request to subscribe to the channel if you haven't. That helps us understand how we are doing. Should we continue doing this or do something else for the community? This YouTube channel is yours. You dictate what comes up into this channel. I'm just the messenger who kind of record these videos for you. So if you haven't, please do subscribe to the channel. Okay, so let's start from the scratch. Let's start the documentation of API that should be available on Microsoft website. So when you go into the API documentation, you will see that in different areas of Business Central, let's go into the sales or purchase order as the person mentioned. So let's go into the purchase order. When you try to get the purchase order, you get certain payload or response based on the payload that you send. And there are other parts of this response that you can get by using expand and other things that we have talked in the whole series. So if you haven't, go to the series of API and read from top to bottom. I guess I have covered everything that was possible on API in that particular series. But okay, but let's look at it from the code perspective. So what I've done is I've extracted the source code of Microsoft extension, and that'll give us some more insights into it. So we were on purchase order. So let's go to the purchase order. Okay, purchase orders. So when you are on purchase order, it always, like any other API, starts with certain fields that you can directly assign to the purchase order entity. But if you come down a little bit, you'll notice that there are certain parts on all of these pages. If you notice here, there are 3 parts that you can see. One is attachment, one is dimension set line, and another is document attachment. Now dimension set line will, if you use this part from a page perspective, consider it as a subform. It'll allow you to add dimensions to your purchase order in this case while creating purchase order if you want to. And if you are extracting info or purchase orders from using APIs, you can see the dimension lines attached to that particular purchase order. But other than this, there are 2 parts. One is called attachment and another is called document attachment. Now it took me a while to understand the difference between those, and I guess that's very important. The attachment part allows you to do a little bit different than what document attachment allows you to do it. So before we get into it, let's first go back to the documentation and look for this part, which is attachment first. So if I go a little bit up, here is attachment. So when I read the documentation about it, it says it represents an attachment in Business Central, and you get the default 4 methods, which is get, delete, post, and patch. And you can do on these particular areas attachments. Okay, sales invoice, journal line, ledger entry, sales order code, purchase order code, and credit memos. And then you need to give it an ID, parent ID, and we'll talk about all these parameters as you do. But this is what an attachment is. But if you notice, the list is a little bit small because when the question is that when I'm trying to access my business central from a client perspective, on most of the entities, you see this area called attachment, which allows you to add one or more files into this particular record. So like if I'm here, there are already two, let's say here, I am easily able to attach a file which gets stored associated to this. But that is not the attachment record. Sorry. The attachment record refers to incoming document feature in Business Central. So don't get confused when you look at the attachment, because that will not attach document in this area. It is utilizing the feature which is called as incoming document. And based on that incoming document, you can get the files and then kind of create documents out of it, right? What this today's video is about this attachments area, which behind the scene is called document attachment. So we should be focusing on something called as somewhere here, document attachment. Now, from a definition perspective, it looks exactly same. Represent a document attachment entity. Again, provides the four method: get, delete, post, and patch. But if you look into the navigation area, you see a little bit more entities than the attachment. So it allows you to do on master entities. And this is just from Microsoft. If you're creating your custom one, you can surely add it, that feature over there, hopefully. And then it is also available on some of the documents like sales invoice, sales order, quotes, credit memo, and same for purchases. And then this is kind of the schema of that particular resource type. So let's look at the document attachment in our source code so that we understand it. So when I go into, hopefully I can navigate it. Okay, here. So there are certain fields in it which represents this entity. One is the ID, which is unique GUID associated to each attachment. The file name, which surely will store the file that you are trying to attach to. The byte size, which is a representation of how big the file is and all, and you cannot modify it. It is a system generated field. So it is not something that you can key in while you are adding into this. You can just read it while you are doing a get. Attachment content, that's a blob field. It stores the attachment that you are importing. Then the parent type is which entity it is associated with. Is it sales order? Is it customer? Is it vendor? That becomes your parent type. And for that, what Microsoft have done is created an enum field of document type, which you can see on the base app, because this table attachment entity buffer is in the base app. Then the parent ID, the ID or the GUID associated with the parent. So if I'm trying to attach it on a customer record, and let me go back here, I need to give the document type as customer, and then my ID will be what we see here if it pops up. Okay, system ID. So this becomes my ID field, parent ID field in my payload when I'm trying to insert the record. Then the line number, it should be read only, I think, but it is not. But it's actually representing of multiple attachment associated with one single entity. And then there are some booleans at the end, which is document flow sales, document flow purchase, and the last modified date and time, which will get automatically assigned, and it is editable false. Document flow purchase is utilized when you attach a document to, let's say, a vendor, and then you also want to make sure that whenever a purchase order is created from it, the document also flows to the purchase order, and so on and so forth. In the same way, if the entity is a customer and you are trying to attach something and you want to set that boolean which is available in the client, then you will be able to set it from here. So right now I'm on my customer entity, so you see the flow to sales transaction. And if I go on my vendor entity, I'll see flow to purchase transactions. Now in the latest version there is a new flow to service, but which is not available here at this moment, but will be on the item entity. Okay, So, okay, we know how to do it. So the first thing that we should be doing is trying to do a get and then see what happens with it. Once the get succeed, we'll try to create an attachment. Okay. So without wasting further time, let's get into our postman and let's test it out. So let me just get the new access token. Okay, that's completed. And I don't want to get into authentication problems at this point. Okay, so here it is. So first, let's see the list of APIs, which is typically your api.businesscentral.com v2.0, which is default with Business Central 24. Business Central 24 is my environment name, and APIs will give me a list of API endpoints that are exposed on this. Oh, okay. Maybe this. Nothing. Now that's odd. Inherit from parents. And let's see. Is it giving me companies? Yes, it is. Okay. Okay. So we know the companies, and then now what we want to see is my endpoint of document attachment. So what I'll do, I'll pick one of the company ID, which is Cronus USA. So I'll just copy this ID. To confirm that I'll be using this, I'm looking for records to get from this particular company. Let's do a send. We should see one record here. Nice. Now we are looking for that endpoint. So I'll just come here and see that this is document attachments. So I can now see document attachments. This will show me all the document attachment irrespective of what entity they are attached to. So if I look at it right now, there seems one attached to customer and one attached to sales order. And then it is just a reference of both the entities which are attached here. Okay. Now let's try to see how you do a post of it. This is just a get attachment. So you can just do document attachments and you'll be able to see what documents are attached to it. Now I'm not on the same environment. So let me try to switch to the same environment so that it's easier to see there. Okay. So I'm here on the BC24 environment, which I'm using in my Postman so that we can see the reflection of it when we create it here. So first, let's keep it very simple. Let's try to add an attachment to the vendor entity. Once we do that, then we'll go and try to do it on other entities. So now if you look at it, on my customer, there should be one attachment associated with this record, and all of these will have 0. The one that is attached have the name salesline AI suggestion.page of type AL. And if you look here on the response from API, this is what it is here. So this is how the get works. Now let's try to see how you add an attachment. So for that, let me add a new request, and I'm bad at it sometime, or most of the time. Sorry. And I'll call it as add or post attachment. Okay. So what we did on the get, I'll just copy that. It'll be easy enough to kind of go there, and I'll change this to post. Okay. So what I'm trying to do is trying to post an attachment on this particular company. So I said, this is my base URL. On this company, I would like to post and document attachment. Now let's go into the documentation and see how post works. Now in this, it says post an attachment by using this, and then here you can provide all this. Okay. And then the response, you'll get something like this. So let's just try to copy this as it is. And let's go back to the Postman, and in the body section, let's do a raw of type JSON. Okay, and download the payload. Now I know that I don't need ID because that's a system generated field. So I'll remove it. I'll keep the file name. I'll remove the byte size as we saw that it's a read only. Same for last modified date. So let's remove it. Let's add it on customer. No, let's add it on vendor. So I'll keep the flow to purchase if I want to set that. And the line number is, I think it should be system generated, so I'm removing it. And then there is these fields available for the payload that I'm attaching to. And I guess with this, I should be able to do it. Now let's come here on the get and see what responses you are getting. So you need to attach a parent type customer. Let's do vendor and let's try it. Parent type vendor. Now I need a vendor GUID. So let me go ahead and see on vendors. I'll do a zoom. The document attachment on this particular record is 0. So I can surely test it out. And let me do system ID. As I copy this, I can then come back here and paste it in. So I'm saying attach a document on vendor with parent ID this, and the document flow purchase set it to true. Let's see. I don't think it's something that I can pass the path. So what I'll have to do is, let's say sort of demo.jpg. It's a file extension. And what I learned is you cannot directly attach the file while you're creating the attachment. Now listen to this very carefully. When you're trying to attach a document, it's done in two parts. The first part is post, which creates a skeleton of the record or the file that you're going to attach. And then by doing a patch of that GUID that you get for that attachment, you can then assign the value to it or the file to it. So it's not one single command to attach a document. It's actually two commands. One is post, which creates a skeleton or a record in that table. And then you do a patch, which is kind of update that record with the file that you want to attach. Okay. And if you know a better way, please add it into the comment section. But I'm going to remove it based on the learning that I have. I like things to be beautified, so let's do a beautify. So if everything goes well, there should be a response that, okay, I've created a record in that table and we should be able to see it in Business Central. So let's hit send. Okay. It says, please attach a document first. Oh, because I'm trying to do maybe this document flow sales, which I should not be right now. So let's remove this. Okay. And let's do a send. Okay. So as soon as I did the send, it actually created a record in my Business Central. And let's go back and see there. So if I come back to this record again, I'll see that there is one document created, but there's no file yet. The file name came as correctly. The extension came as correctly. The file type is image. And when I'm trying to do this, and I'm pretty sure if I try to do it on client, it'll give me the same error, which is please attach a document first. So I cannot even do that Boolean set at the same time. Okay. So now we have done the post and we have the record that we would like to modify. So now let's try to do a patch. So this time I'll do an add request and this time it'll be a patch attachment. Now the patch attachment will also work in the same way, which is that I would like to patch the record that I just created. So I'll just pick the post command as it is, put it into the patch. But because now I have a document attachment that I want to modify or update, I can now refer to the ID of that particular record, which is this. So now what I'm telling system that I would like to patch and document attachment which comes with this GUID in my system. The base URL, the environment, the company, the document attachment, and unique identifier of it. Now I can patch the document attachment that I'm doing. Now if you have seen the previous video, you will see how you kind of patch it. But at the patch, you also have to define what field you are patching. So let's go into the payload. And if I come here, I would like to patch the attachment content. This is the field where because if you look at it, this is a blob field which then can kind of load it into the system. So I'd like to patch this field. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this and say I want to patch this field. So I told my endpoint that this is my base URL, then this is my environment. Inside that there might be multiple companies. I'll refer to this company, and then there might be multiple document attachment. I would like to refer to this particular attachment, and then I would like to patch the field attachment content. So I'll change it to patch. Now if you have seen the previous video around patching and all, there is one mandatory header in the patch which is called, and if you know it before I say it, type it in the chat. But if it is if match, okay, if match. Now if match is kind of if you find it, conditional statement. Now what you are finding is important. You are actually going to find the e tag of your OData endpoint. So you just are supposed to be copying this there. So if the get understand it from business central perspective or a developer perspective, if you get that record, then modify. So in the if match, you specify the unique identifier for it from an OData perspective, then it is this. But remember, you don't have to blindly copy this. You just have to skip the first part, which is just the kind of placement token. You just have to copy this part between the dashes and then copy this part, put it into the patch if match, and that's it. So now we know which company, which environment, which company, which document attachment we want to modify, and then the if match gives me guarantee that it'll find that, then and only this will change. Now it's boiled down to what about the file? We've talked about everything, but where is my file that I would like to attach? So for that, you go into the body section and here you choose binary. Now binary option allows you to choose a file that you would like to import in the Postman, right? Now how you do it on the system, I don't know. You'll have to tell me if that becomes a problem. You do a select file, then you choose a file from local machine, and then you automatically navigate and pick a file. So what I'll do is I'll pick one of the file. Let's say I'll pick import document, the logo for this video, import document attachment .jpeg. Hopefully this is jpeg. Okay, will not be available in your teams and you should be able to share and things like that. Okay, so what we have done, let's quickly revisit. We written a patch command to patch the document attachment record which was already created by the post command, and we utilize the ID to uniquely identify it, and then we utilize the OData e tag in the if match parameter, which is this part. With both of these settings done, what I can do is I can call a send, and as soon as I call send, hopefully everything goes well and the file gets imported. It's not correct, it seems, because what is this file? Let me see, and maybe I'll have to find a simple file. Let me see. Okay, and let me see what extension I have given, because the extension should match, right? So the extension for this file is PNG. Oh, so let me save as this file, and I'm doing it on the other screen, but believe me, and let me open it in Paint for everyone. Okay, here's the logo of this particular video. I'll save as this as JPG file, and then I'll do it somewhere on my desktop. Uh, okay, and let me open my Business Central so that I know what extension I have given. I have given the extension JPG. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll save as this file as JPG on my desktop, and I'm doing it on another screen, and I've saved it. Okay, so let's close this, and this time let's pick that file. Okay, so I guess the extension should be an exact match, because the file that I was trying to import was PNG, and that was causing the problem. So this time it should be JPG. Let's do a send. Okay, request data is invalid, request data is invalid. So maybe I have this incorrectly set. So let me see what I've set here. I have copied everything. The closing tag for this is here. Okay, maybe this is also part of it. Let me just see that. Let me just copy this, go back to my patch, and in the if only, if match, this uniquely identifies your record, and let's try to do a send. No, and let's see, can I see that here? What happened? Okay, it says request data invalid. Request data is invalid. No much info over here. Okay, let's see, let's give it a try again and see what happens. Okay, now when I'm thinking about it, okay, let me just keep this, I guess. Oh, I think I know what I missed here. I should be doing double quotes on this value. Okay, so that it kind of looks for this value. Okay, let's try to do a send. This time it is taking that file and uploading it into the document attachment. Now don't worry about it if you don't see a response, because there is no content when you do a patch, it seems. But it says that the server has successfully processed the request, but it is not returning any content. But let's go back to Business Central and see what happened there. So let me come down here and go back here. What I now see is a document, and you'll say I don't see a change. But let's try to check this. Oh, I'm able to. That means there is a file, and if I try to download this, it actually downloads the Saurav demo.jpg, which exactly the file that I just imported, which is popped up on my other screen. So let me bring it in here. So whenever you are trying to attach an attachment, you always will have to do a post and then a patch. Now if I do a get, I should see 3 record. So let's see, 1, 2, and 3. It's also attached here. Now let's quickly, because the question was about the what do you call that, sales and purchase document. Let's try to do it on sales and purchase document. Now the steps remain same, but let me rename this get attachment. This will remain same, post attachment vendor, so that it doesn't cause me problems in the future, and patch attachment on vendor. Okay, now we have done that. Let's add a new request. Let's try to quickly do it. Add request, and this time we'll do a post attachment on let's try doing it on purchase order. Okay, so first let's try to get all the purchase orders. So let's do a get here, And we'll try to do it in two ways, right? In the easy way and the hard way. All right. So that you also kind of get an idea about the expand if you don't know it. Okay, so here it is. The company is found, and now I'm looking for purchase orders, which I don't remember the endpoint. So I'll go back here, and you can see the list of APIs. I kind of like to do it this way, but that's your call. So if I'm trying to create a purchase orders, I surely would be referring to this particular entity, which is called as purchase orders. Okay, so let's do purchase orders. This will give me a payload of my purchase order, which is this. Oh, sorry, response of this. Now I would also like to get the lines. So what I can do is expand is equals to, if I remember it correctly, there should be a part. Okay, let's come down, attachment, and then purchase orders, where I don't see a lines fast tab. Oh, here it is, purchase order line is a part. So let's try doing expand on purchase order lines. I might get an error at this point. No, I did not. And let's pick this one. Okay, just a unique purchase order. So purchase orders, this 106001, and then okay, no, I don't see that. Am I doing something wrong? Maybe it's supposed to be $expand if I'm not wrong. Oh, it's not question mark, it's $expand. Okay, now there are some errors. Now that's good. Okay, no response is found. I surely have forgotten. $expand. Oh, I think I finally figured it out. Okay, so here are two lines, the line number 1, and then this is line number 2. Okay, so this is how you can also create a purchase order, and that's what we'll utilize. So I'll just copy this whole payload so that I don't have to work manually onto it. And here I'll, instead of doing a get, or maybe let's go into body raw, and I'll just copy this payload as it is, and I'll just keep the bare minimum if needed. I don't need any of these. I don't need number because it's a system generated number. I'll just completely empty this. Coming down here, I don't need this. These all are system calculated feed, so I think we can live with it. I don't want any dimensions. I just want a vendor number to be there, and that's it. If there is an external document number, I would like to keep it so that we can see it from here. Okay, order date, posting date, vendor number. Okay, and nothing much. Yeah, everything looks good. Okay, so let's remove this. So I'll keep this date as it is. I'll keep the vendor number. I don't need vendor ID. I doubt that this should work. I don't need the name, pay vendor ID, pay to vendor number. Okay, that's it. On the header, I'm just giving it the vendor number and the posting date. Sorry. And then on the lines fast tab, I would only be interested in giving the item number, and that's it. Okay, let's do this. So the quantity will be 1 for me. I don't need unit of measure, whatever the default is, take it. Line type is item, and line number is this. The item ID is this, which is the item number that you would like to do. And then in the same way, let's copy it and make it the sequence. I think sequence will be a read only feed, but we'll see that. That's not a problem. Okay. Line type, item number is here, and then I don't need description, I just need quantity. Okay, so we are good here. Now this is how you generally create a purchase order if everything goes good, right? But additionally, as we were talking about it, we would also like to attach the attachment into it, or document attachment into it, and we also get a part for document attachment. So what I can do actually is I can also have my another part here and say this is for my document attachments. Okay, now I'll open the array because I have the capability to add multiple document attachment if I want, and then inside this I would represent each document attachment uniquely. So if I do a get attachment, which is here, I can see, or the post attachment where I did it, I just need this structure, right? So let me just copy this in the post attachment and just paste it here, right? Because I already have this, I can just remove this and we'll beautify it at the end if needed. This is my attach one, and this will be on purchase order. I don't know how you write purchase orders in here, but that's the beauty of it, that I can actually go to my system on purchase orders. Let's see if I have it somewhere. Okay, purchase order, and then just attach a sample file from somewhere on any of the document. Okay, so I can go to the attachments. I can surely search for it on the documentation and all, but rather than doing that, I can just go ahead and pick the same picture which I attached. Now this will create an attached document scenario, and then when I go back in my section here, I can just get all, and then I'll also see one for purchase orders at the end somewhere. This is vendor, sales order, and this is purchase order. Because there is a space, this is how system represents in space, it seems. So I'll just use the parent type as this in my post. So my parent type becomes, let's do this, parent type and parent ID. I just need parent type. Okay, now in this case, if you notice, I'm not worried about the parent ID, and the reason behind that is I don't need parent ID. I'll say, oh, so how will attach it? You know, that seems odd. How you will attach something when you don't know what you're trying to get at. But let's see, I'll just also expand the other parts so that I can see how the get is working here. So you'll notice in the get, when I'm trying to get this, shows line, and then it shows that there is a document attachment which I just added on that particular order, right? In the same way, what I'm trying to do now is I'm trying to post it. Okay, I'll have to make certain changes on my purchase order API endpoint. I'm trying to add an purchase order with attachment on this environment, on this company. Not, I now cannot refer a purchase order because I'm trying to create a new one. So I'll remove the ID, and then I also would like to expand the line section because I'm going to add lines into it, and then I would also like to attach expand the document attachment section because I'm going to attach document attachment. Now in any of this, I haven't specified the parent ID here, I haven't specified the document type and document number here, which is a typical relationship in the purchase order. But when the system creates it, it'll understand that the system ID generated for it will be utilized for all these parts that are added into it, and automatically should be adding it. So let's try posting this and see what happens. Okay, it says okay, number, it is not possible to assign number automatically. Okay, so for some reasons, I guess I have changed in this particular system that you need to pick a number series, it seems. I can't just, even manually, it should generate an error message because I have some testing that I was doing here where I have to select the number series, and hopefully there are manual numbers not ticked yet. So just for the sake of it, what I'll do is I'll add the manual numbers in both of these series so that I can add manual numbers, and then I can come here and then I'll have to do a get first to see what happens, what kind of numbers I'm getting, or on which field I'm getting the number. Because in my scenario, I cannot assign a number directly without choosing it. Because that's how my setup is. And if there is an application dialog that need to happen, that's not going to happen. So test API is the document number that I'm giving to this particular purchase order. And now let's try to post this. Okay. Okay. I cannot assign number series manually. Now that's odd. It should be. But let's have a look. Let me create a new one. Okay. And I think I have enabled it, but let me see. I have the manual numbers. Oh, I might not have set on this. Okay. Cancel. Let's see. So I've set the manual numbers allowed on the main number series. I did not have to do it on the sub number series. Let's come back to Postman. Let's try to send it again. Hopefully this time it passes it. Okay. So it did create a new purchase order as we were expecting, test API. And then it also added the lines that we provided. And it also created a record in my document attachment associated to that purchase order. So now if I come back here and I look back into my purchase order series page, I'll see that a purchase order is created as expected, and it has 2 lines, okay, with the quantities that mentioned, and it also have a document attached to it, 1, but there's no file yet. So what we have to do, as we did in the past, we have to patch that particular record. So let's just add one more record request here before we end this, and we'll say patch attachment purchase order. Okay, the command remains same for the patch. I'll just copy this, okay, paste it here, change this to patch. Then I come to patch and I have to do a if match. That's the only thing. So I'll come into the header as we talked about it, if match, and then I need the GUID of that particular, or the OData E tag for it, which I'll go from the post. So my OData tag for this attachment is this. Oh, sorry. Should be able to copying it till here and then adding a manual double quote if needed. It'll be needed, sorry. Okay. Let's revisit our URL. We are saying we want to add a attachment file into this environment, into this particular company. The document attachment where I would like to import it is this. So I'll go in and then I'll change the GUID where I want to attach the file. Okay. And then last but not least is in the body under binary, I'll choose a file, and this time I'm choosing, and what is the extension of the file that I've given, because that's important. So let me check in Business Central. The attachment that I've given is an JPG. Okay, so I'll select the same file which I did on the vendor scenario so that it becomes easier. Okay, yeah, so we did when we posted this purchase order, we also added the document attachment reference, so all that goes into one shot. And then I'm trying to patch that record by utilizing the same endpoint. So let's do a send. If everything is correct, there should be no response. And if I go back into my business central, I should be able to reopen this document, or even not even reopen, maybe go to the list page and see that there is an attachment file which gets downloaded, because now there is a file associated with this. The same set of rule applies to any other entity which is supported by Microsoft to allow you to attach documents into. I know it's been a little bit long, but before I let you go, let's quickly summarize it. Whenever you want to attach a file, you refer to the document attachment part in the page. Is that available or not? That's the first thing you need to check. If there's a document attachment part available, then you are allowed to attach a document to that particular document type or master type. The document attachment happens in two parts. One is post and another is patch. The post creates an empty record into the document attachment table without the file, and then utilizing the patch, you attach the file. Now in the patch, while you're doing it, you need to remember two things. One, in the URL for the patch, you need to list down the document system ID, document attachment system ID, so that it pinpoints to that record. And then, because it's a patch request, you'll have to add an additional header, which is if match, and then copy the OData E tag into it. Make sure that there are double quotes on both the sides, because that was the error that we saw. Once you do that, your file will get attached. Questions? Add it into the comments. You think this was useful and you like the content? Hit the like button. If you think you had a colleague or a friend who was asking about it, share it on your social media. Let's more people know about it, that how to do it. And if you haven't, please do subscribe to the channel. And before I let you go, if you have any feedback, any comments in general about the video, not just about this video, in general, all the videos in this channel, please add it in the comments. I will try to shift or change if needed on any suggestion that you have. I'll see you sooner than later on the next video. Till then, keep learning and keep sharing. Let's make this business community as great as we can and help each other to learn new things. See you next time. Thank you. Have a nice day.